my god, it feels so nice when tanks actually die.
Actually.
This shit just feels so much better, man.
Like, I'm having more fun than I have in Overwatch 2 since.
When I was dying as a tank, I felt like it was my fault. And there were things that I could do differently. And just being able to create those kills without having to go through 2-3 cycles of cooldowns is so nice. It feels so much better from a casual perspective.
Okay, time to talk about 6v6 because I've had enough time to give it a shot. Not as much as I'd like, but I did play all of the roles, and I would continue to play more, but I think it's just more important for me to get a video out because of the fact that I don't have time to play right now. It's the holiday season. But I played all of the roles. Tank is way more fun. It's so much more about outplaying using your abilities. You can go up against your counters and have a better chance of winning because the health isn't as high anymore. Now, when Zarya makes a mistake and steps out of position, me as Junker Queen can recognize that mistake and punish her and kill her for it, like I do here. Even as a DPS, I can get more options as I can now choose to attack a tank who made a mistake, or attack a DPS who made a mistake, or attack a support who made a mistake. It also made it more fun because of the fact that those denial abilities are now being forced to be used more often. But I do think that that is also a band-aid fix. It's not an actual solution. It will mean that supports might feel like they have less agency over their games because denial abilities mean less. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I've made my video on how to fix Kiriko and like ideas to make her abilities more proactive. And I think that there's solutions around that. But overall, like 6v6 format just plays better for Overwatch. It just feels better on all roles. Like it's just way more fun. And the only people I've seen who dislike it seem to not understand how to play the game, or they're sort of like they sort of rely on raw stats and raw healing numbers and denial abilities to bail them out of mistakes. Whereas I prefer it to be based around the abilities and how you use them and your mechanical aim. And that might be where I differ from people who might actually prefer 5v5. But to me, it's just a more meaningful interaction when there's greater risk but greater reward. Like then you can also have more control over your games because of the fact that you felt like you could have done something in order to win. Like you knew you could have outplayed your situation better. But as much as I hype up 6v6, we got to talk about the problems of 6v6, which are the tank queue times. And I know a lot of people I've seen already some people say like, oh, tank queue times are already crappy. Like there's already not enough tank players in 6v6 unranked, which okay. But also I've also seen people say, oh, support is miserable in 6v6. Like if it's so miserable, why are support players still queuing up for 6v6, right? Why is it that that's not a shorter queue time? But still, like 6v6 didn't address the tank queue time problem that existed in Overwatch 1. All they did was took a tank away, changed nothing, continued to give supports the strongest abilities in the game, and then threw another tank back in there. So if you're looking and thinking like this was somehow going to make the tank queue times better, you'd be an idiot. Like nothing changed in terms of making tank more enjoyable. Everything that I've been talking about and the stuff that takes away from the fun of tank, the invisible DPS passive you can't see, the immortality abilities that just deny you from playing or deny you from getting kills or deny your ultimates, like the fact that a lot of your stuff is so easily countered, but like support things are not. This is all stuff that still exists in the game. It didn't change anything. So for me personally, like, yes, I understand that tank queue times are longer, but it's not because tank isn't a fun role. It's not because there's less people to play tank. It's because you gave people reasons to play the other roles more. It feels like you can get more value, sitting in the back playing a support than it does playing a tank. And I think it's an easier solution to try and figure out how to make tank more fun than it is to try and make 5v5 work. Especially because of the fact that, like, every time there's new heroes, you find new people to main those heroes. You know, Venture and Juno came out recently, but there's already Venture and Juno mains. There's still, even for heroes that are less popular, like Lifeweaver or Alari, there's still Lifeweaver and Alari mains. And the tank roster just doesn't have as many heroes as, like, the DPS roster, right? And when you take away, like, kill potential in an FPS game from tanks, and then you leave them with a small roster, you're going to have fewer people playing them. And the support roster is, you know, just as small as the tank roster, but the support heroes get so much more value with so much less work that, of course, it's going to be fun for more people. So this is why I say, like, the solution is to just make tank more enjoyable again. Give people heroes that they want to play. Create tanks that would attract support players or attract DPS players, because there's people like me who will migrate if they find a hero that's fun. And part of it just goes with just addressing those immortalities in the DPS passive. You know, people have more fun when they can kill stuff, and that's how an FPS should be made. So yeah, I admit, sure, that there are issues with the tank queue times, but I think that is an easier problem to try and solve, because simply saying, like, oh, tank is just an unfun role and people just don't enjoy playing tank, I think that's a cop-out of an answer. I think that if you're going to say that, like, oh, we can't make it fun, you can sit there and say that you don't know how to make it fun, sure, but that doesn't mean that tank isn't a fun role. It's just you haven't been able to design something fun enough to attract players to it, and I think that that's the problem. But yeah, the tank overall, still for me, has been a blast, and I would much rather play tank in 6v6 because I've had much less blame thrown at me as well. And it's just been an overall a much more enjoyable experience. Yeah, and the other critique I've seen is that supports have been saying online that they feel like they need to heal bot all the time, that they don't have time to do damage, and that, you know, in 6v6 it's too chaotic, it's not as much fun. But I think that is just people not knowing how to play the game. Like, to be honest, like, every 6v6 game I've played where I'm support, I am dishing out a crap ton of damage. I am focusing still primarily on damage over healing, because of the fact that knowing when to do damage and when to heal is a skill in the game. And for me, I think it's more so players don't know when to heal and when to do damage, understanding that if someone is low health behind cover, but safe, and there's another player on your team who is taking a duel with someone, that even if they have more health, it's like, it's better to help the person who's currently in the duel than it is to help the person who's already safe behind cover, right? This is why I was so against the UI change, because it's like, that's just giving players a bar to look at, where it's just like, I see bar go down, I want to see it go up. It's like, no, you need to know, you know, why the bar is down, if they need that bar back up, and who to prioritize in those trade-offs. Because a lot of it too, I think a lot of the problems of Overwatch is just people don't understand how to play the game. There's a general ignorance of what to do, about how to use cover and where to aim from and who to heal and who to shoot. And I think that is a problem of the game that should be fixed. And I think there's ways to address that, especially using, like, you know, little PvE modes and whatnot. But I don't think that the criticism of, like, oh, it feels like supports are a more stressful role. I think that, like, in 5v5, supports just got so babied being the most powerful role that there was in the game, with the most little, with the least amount of effort needed to be put in, that the moment that some of that power is then taken away from them and given to the tanks to make tank more fun, now they're like, well, this isn't fun for me. It's just like, well, right, because you were broken for a really long time. And you had a lot of the stuff that gave your teams a lot of value with a lot less work. And in order to make tank a better experience, you need to give up some of that power. But you can do so in fair ways. Like I've talked about with my Kiriko fix video. Like there's ways to make it more fun. There's ways to give players supports agency, but also make it fun for everyone else on the receiving end as well. So I don't think it's that players need to heal bot more. I think it's players just don't understand how to play the game, and that's another problem that with a different set of solutions. But it is possible. I am all about teaching through play, and I think that it is possible to teach people how to play the game properly through play. It just matters about, how they go about doing it. The other issue, well, I should also bring up Kingmaker, because they tested out 6v6 and they tested out Kingmaker a little bit ago, and Kingmaker was an absolutely terrible game mode. I had no fun with that, and I legitimately tried to test it so I could make a good video or something. I got 9 games in, and I was so miserable, I had to turn it off, and I'm like, I'm not finishing this. Like, I'm not going to keep testing this because I'm just not having fun. Every match felt terrible. It wasn't enjoyable. You didn't get to choose who was Kingmaker. It was just sort of random. Yeah, it created a bunch of issues, and I was like, I'm not doing this. I can't do this. If that's what Overwatch becomes, and like there's no way I'm gonna keep playing Overwatch. But the other issues with 6v6 is this isn't even like a season of 6v6. This is just like an unranked test mode for a little bit, and not everyone's gonna want to play unranked. There's people like me, like I like playing competitive. I don't like playing with people who are not at my skill level. It's not enjoyable to me to have them on my team or go up against them. Like, I like to play in situations where I'm challenged, and I think the only way to really test this is to put it in for an entire season. Queue times be damned. Like, you just got to give it a shot, because of the fact that this is not like, it's just not a very good way to really give things a fair shot, especially given the fact that they decided to do this test during right after Marvel Rivals was released, and they also tried to do it during the holiday season. Like, it's like you're setting it up for failure by just all you did was optimize it to bring another tank player back, but you didn't do anything else. You just took the player out and put it back in, and they're just like, all right, let's just see what happens. It's like, no, there's still work to do, and you did it at the worst time possible. Like, I'm an adult, I want to play, and it's during the holiday season. I haven't had time. Like, I did as much as I could, but now I'm unable to play, and I won't be able to play again until January 4th at the earliest, because of the fact that I'm going out of town to see my family tomorrow. And I know there's a lot of people who are going to be on vacation. A lot of kids are going to be on vacation from school, but like, there's also other people like me where it's just like the holiday times are just a weird time to test it, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't feel like it gives you the right information that you're looking for. So part of me just feels like, looking at how they're going about just like sort of throwing this out there to see, like, I don't feel like the 6v6 was set up for success. I feel like it was just set up for them to confirm what they were already feeling. Give them reasons to validate their feelings on the tank queue times. Because like I said, if you're not going to do anything to adjust what makes tank less fun in Overwatch, you're going to have a much harder time, you're much harder time shortening or making those queue times spread out. Because like, you've been watching me play as Kiriko this whole time. Like, I play super aggressive on supports because of the fact that I know that I can get away with it. Like, I can Suzu TP out repeatedly and get away with what I think of as the dumbest shit imaginable. And that's just how I play support. Like, that's how I get away with this stuff. And I don't get to play that sort of same way as a tank. I can't do this as Junker Queen, right? If I was here as Junker Queen, I would be dead 100% because I have no way to get out. But Kiriko doesn't have that problem. So yeah, I appreciate the devs giving this a shot, but I do, like, I know it was a lot of work went into it. There's a lot of back and forth, and it was tough to, give this to players knowing that there'd be some flack or whatnot for it. But at the end of the day, I'm concerned that the 6v6 was not given a fair chance, and I I hope that we get like an entire season to really test it out because of the fact that I do enjoy 6v6 so much more. I do think queue times can be adjusted by figuring out why players are frustrated playing tank versus other roles. Uh, and I do think it could be done in a way that provides more versatility and keeps players around. And like, I think that the dev team really needs to do that because of the fact that Marvel Rivals seems like real competition. Like they really need to do something to bring back the players' trust and bring back players into the game, such as myself. Because if it stays as 5v5, I'm not coming back. Like, but uh, if it comes back to 6v6 and they remove the DPS passive and they get rid of the support immortalities, the free value abilities, like I can see myself coming back. But if they're going to continue to focus on making, just catering to very specific roles and very specific heroes, then I have no interest because of the fact that I'm not a Kiriko main. Like this game doesn't like 5v5 doesn't appeal to me because of that, I think. Um cuz yeah, like at the end of the day, I would rather lose in 6v6 than win in 5v5. Like that's how the game plays out for me. Um I much prefer being able to feel like I outplayed my opponents than feeling like I just dumped enough damage into them faster than they dumped into our team. Uh but yeah, whatever they decide to go with, you know, I wish them the best of luck. I really hope it's 6v6. I hope we get a full season of it. I hope that they don't look at data in a way that just is just like, oh, there's just not enough tank players, so we're just not going to bother. Because I don't know. I think teaching players how to play the game is something that could be done, especially through like PVE. I'll make another video about that in the future. I think that making tanks more tank heroes and making tank more enjoyable is a design challenge that I would welcome. I think that sounds like more fun. Um, but yeah, I think there are solutions to the problems. I think we're just not thinking creatively enough on them. But yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. I wish them the best of luck either way. But if Overwatch continues with 5v5, then maybe I'd be one of the many people who's just going to start playing Marvel Rivals because it's got its flaws, but at least it's new, it's fun, it's different, and stuff dies. And I don't know, it just it's a fun new experience. So now that Overwatch has some competition, maybe we'll see some drastic changes or something as they try to bring us back. But anyway, if you like 5v5 or if you like 6v6, tell me if I missed anything here. Uh, but yeah, I am maybe biased as an OG player, but 6v6 is just always better to me.